Hey, this is an important conversation I want to have today. Let me talk about something that is pretty obvious to everybody, that the economy has shifted, particularly in the workplace. Companies are no longer robustly recruiting talent and getting the best opportunities for people. As a matter of fact, most organizations have scaled back their hiring at this point. Not only that, there are companies who are instituting layoffs at the present time. Sometimes they're doing layoffs by attrition, which is when people leave, they're not backfilling those roles. Sometimes those roles are going unfilled for a very long time. And I'm seeing these trends over and over and over again. It doesn't matter the industry, whether it's the tech sector, whether it's hotel, restaurant management, hospitality, whether it's banking and finance, and most importantly, the industry that I have spent the most time with, healthcare. There's a lot of freezing that is happening right now. See, organizations are anticipating massive financial headwinds as we go into the second quarter and as we go into, as we go into the third quarter and as we go into the fourth quarter. There are a lot of headwinds right now. This is not anything new. So, what am I saying to you? I'm saying to you a problem that everybody is talking about. Everybody's talking about that their organizations are freezing on hiring right now. They're not recruiting new people. They're not growing. There's no expansion going on. That's a problem that everybody knows. Here's a second problem that everybody knows, that because of these decisions, there is a shift happening inside the culture of organizations. That people are going from feeling confident about the work that they do, the teams that they're on, the activities that they're involved in, that they're starting to get paranoid. Am I going to lose my job? Are we going to have another round of layoffs? And am I going to lose my job? They're also getting stressed. There's a level of leadership burnout that is happening right now. The leaders are being under-resourced. They're being given more work, less people to do that work. And so they are now struggling and are making a decision that, you know what, I can't put up with this. I can't lead anymore. I'm going to walk away. And so many of my keynotes, really all of my keynotes this year, have been about leading through uncertainty, how to deal with these trends and these challenges around turnover, retention, culture, financial headwinds, where the money is, where the money is not. I'm having lots of presentation time talking about these challenges. But that's not the biggest challenge that I'm hearing from leaders. We all know about the headwinds. We all know about the external environment. We all know about where we sit in these economic times. But when I step off of a stage or when I check my LinkedIn DMs after an event, whether I give my cell phone number to someone, here is the problem that they are talking about that nobody else is talking about publicly. But I want to talk about it today. That problem is this, and I'll give you the scenario that's in. There's a large organization, have a very few leaders at the top. And when I mean a very few leaders at the top, the executive leadership team is small. It's roughly 10 people for this 10,000 person organization. And literally on that executive team, they had two people leave their roles over the last 2 years. And there's a person who happened to be in the audience for one of my events that I learned from, had a desire to be a replacement for one of those senior leaders. They felt like they'd done all of the prerequisite work. They had been in the organization a very long time. They had all of the skills, the backgrounds, the knowledge, the expertise, the credentials, and more importantly, they have technically been doing the job for this senior leader for a very long time. Now, I can't get into the details and the color of why they said to me that they have been doing the job for the senior leader, but let's just say that person was dealing with a health challenge that had them absent for the role for large swaths of time. And so this junior leader, and when I say junior, this is a senior vice president level, not in the C-suite, but right below the C-suite. The senior vice president level person was doing the work, leading the team, managing the team, executing on the work, really delivering at a high level. They were fundamentally executing the job. So when the call came to me and said, Anton, I'm struggling to get to my next level because I don't believe that my C-suite leaders and peers see me the way they see my boss or the way they saw my boss. So I started to unpack for them, tell me more, give me some context of what do you mean they don't see you in that way? And their response was, well, Anton, I really don't know because I get the work done. Every time there's a problem, they call me. Every time there's a challenge, they call me. If there's something that needs to be fixed, they call me. If some area is not performing, they call me. This person was an executor at the highest level. I talked about it a little bit last week. This person was a baller. You know, when I mean baller, that when the game is on the line and a shot needs to be made, this person who I was talking to, the ball gets passed to them and they score. They put it in the hoop. They run the 80-yard touchdown, whatever sports analogy you want to use. They actually get it done. But I believe their biggest problem, the one thing that I am talking about that they were not talking about, that I hear nobody talking about, is that this person is trapped by their execution. That they're so good at fixing today's problems, they're not preparing for the future opportunities. They're not preparing for the future transformation of the organization. And therefore, the C-suite team doesn't see them as a future leader. They don't see them in that executive role. They see them as an executor. And so my point to them and my point to you is that the biggest problem that nobody's talking about is that as your organization is going through these challenges, as they're going through these changes and transitions, this recession around talent and cultural opportunities that are hitting your organization, you need to fix those cultural opportunities. But you can't fix those cultural opportunities if nobody sees you as a leader who can execute on those problems. You can execute on your day-to-day work. You can execute on my marketing division or my operations division, or I can execute on the silo in which you have the premier expertise and leadership ability to execute. But you can't see and show that you can help solve the bigger problems. You cannot pivot towards preparing for the future. That's the problem that nobody's talking about. That I need you, your organization needs you to move to that next level. See, these culture challenges won't fix themselves. These organizational issues won't fix themselves. They need leaders who have the ability to fix them. And you do. You have the knowledge, the capability to fix them, and you see it in real time. You see it with your eyes. You see it like a 27 zenith. You can see it, but you can't get to it. Why? Is because you're trapped by execution. So here's my question for you. How are you spending your time day to day in your organization right now? I want you to just kind of do some quick math and share with me how you're spending your time. And when I mean how you're spending your time, how much of your time on a weekly basis is spent dealing with today's problems at work? And when I mean today's problems, let's just say dealing with the immediacy of something going wrong right now or something that needs to get finished right now. You're in the day-to-day execution mode. Is it 20% or is it 70%? Is it 30%? I want to hear from you. How much of your time are you spending right now executing? Do a time audit. That's what I'm asking you to do as a leader is to do a time audit. The reason why I want you to do a time audit is this, is because the leaders who are at the highest level of every organization, think CEO, think C-suite, they don't spend the majority of their time focused on today's problems. They do not. See, the work for this quarter is already been baked in, and they've given it to other people to execute. They've given it to you to execute. But they're thinking about the next quarter. And some of them are even thinking about next year. We're in the middle of the year right now. There are some leaders who are already thinking about next year. But if you're spending all of your time focused on day-to-day problems and are not bringing in ideas, strategy, and focus on the future, you will never be seen as a leader who needs to be promoted to that strategic leadership level, that enterprise level. That's the first problem you have, is that you're trapped by execution. Here's the second thing I want to share with you. You might think that this is a good thing that I'm about to say is your problem. And when I say your problem, the problem that I'm seeing for this leader that I talked out. Every time I had a conversation with them, they kept saying, my team, my team, my team, my team. My team is doing this. My team is doing that. It's taking me so long to build my team. I got my team clicking on all cylinders. My team is executing. So I'm leading a team that executes. My team, my team, my team, my team. Your team is very important. Absolutely very important. But here's the mistake that you're making. That building a team and leading a team doesn't necessarily equate to influence in an organization. The only thing building a team does is create a strong team that might end up operating in a silo. And I'm seeing this across organizations, that you have senior level leaders who are supposed to be working across the organizations to break down silos, but all they're really doing is building the muscle of their siloed team. And then you wonder why one part of the organization is stronger than another part of the organization. Because you, as a strong leader and as an executor, know what to do to optimize your team. You build your team so strong that they're so successful and so impactful, but you can enter into a senior level meeting and look to your left or look to your right and see that there's another leader over there whose team is not as strong as yours, whose team is not executing the way your team is executing, whose team is kind of floundering. They got 50% turnover on that team because they don't have the same tools that you use with your team to make sure you not only get the right talent, but you onboard them in the right way. You build a culture where they want to thrive. So your team loves each other, cares about each other, knows each other very well, is doing all of the things that says that we got a great team. But your colleague is struggling. So you got a strong silo, but they got a weak silo. And you think that you having a strong silo is making you more influential in the organization. It's not. And here's why. Because you're not doing enough to support and help your peers. You actually don't even know why they got a 50% turnover. You're assuming that it's because they're not a good leader as you, but there might be some other struggles, like the compensation for those roles might not be where yours is because your jobs are differently. So what am I saying that you need to do? If you want to build influence to make yourself visible and valuable at that senior executive level, that highest level in your organization, then what I need you to do is I need you to help your colleagues. I need you to get out of your silo and get into their silo. Now, what do I mean get into it? I'm not telling you to go do their jobs for them, no, or tell you to monk up their team. But here's what I am telling you, that you need to make time this week and schedule 3 30-minute one-on-ones with your peers that work in a different area. Why do you need to do this? because you need to know who they are and ask them, what are they struggling with right now? What biggest challenge that they're having? Is there anything I can help with? Because if your team is really clicking on all cylinders and your team is ripping and running like it's supposed to be, here's what you need to do. You need to step away and let your team rip and run. And that gives you the bandwidth and the ability to focus on other people. I keep telling you that service is the prerequisite of leadership. You served your team by building them up strong. Now, what are you doing to serve your colleagues in your organization? Service is the prerequisite of leadership. And I'm telling you right now, you need to be serving some of your peers. So schedule 3 30-minute one-on-ones with peers this week. Check-in calls. That's what you put on the calendar invite. Check-in call with blank. Put a little short agenda. How you doing? What are you challenged with? What can I do to help? They're going to be shocked and surprised that you're reaching out to them to ask for help. But why is this important? Because enterprise thinkers know the enterprise. They support the enterprise. They help the enterprise. They help people to solve challenges that they may not necessarily have firsthand expertise with. You have to be seen as a leader who can scan as wide as you can deep. And you deep on your stuff, but you got to find a way to get wide on other people's stuff. Now, I know you're probably thinking, Anton, I rarely talk to them. Well, that's the problem you've created, that you don't talk to your peers and your colleagues, that you don't get outside of your comfort zone. You don't have a group chat with peers who are at the same level that you are in the organization, who do completely different work. You got to get out of your silo, because I need you, your organization needs you to become a higher level leader so you can have a bigger impact. And the first step to start having that bigger impact is to start spending time with the leaders who you need to impact at a peer level before you can get to the enterprise level. That's my second challenge for you, is that you think building a team equates to influence. It doesn't. Influence comes through service of other people. And I'm telling you, what you should do right now is to find 30 minutes this week. Schedule them this week, do them next week. 30-minute one-on-ones with 3 leaders outside your silo. That's the second thing that I have for you. Now, the final thing that I have for you today is that I want you to understand that you are a high performer. And I absolutely value high performers. I think most people value high performers. And here's what I've learned by speaking on stages and working with executive teams. There's so many people who think that they're high performers. They really do. They say, Anton, I got the knowledge, meaning that I've been here a long time in this position, in this role, in this organization. I got the knowledge about the organization. Number 2, I got the credentials. I went to the right college. I got the right MBA or the right graduate degree, that I go to professional conferences. I got the right certification. I got the right credentials. And they also say that I got a senior title now. I'm in a position now. I'm at a senior level leadership now. They tell me about their knowledge, their credentials, and in their position. And because of those 3 things, they perform at a very high level. And they think that because I can perform, I'm ready to be a CEO. I'm ready to be in the C-suite. Let me tell you, I've worked with a lot of C-suite executives. I know a lot of CEOs, big companies, small companies, federal agencies, state agencies. I know a lot of chief executive officers. And here's what I want you to know after spending so much time with them and even playing these roles myself, that just because you perform doesn't mean you're ready to be CEO. See, performance is about current success. It's about past success, but it's also about current success. But chief executives who have the biggest impact are not focused on managing the current success. They're focused on motivating future success. They're focused on understanding what the next looks like. They're focused on investing in leading change. And so I'm telling you right now that just because you're a high performer doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready to be CEO. That there's some things that you have to learn if you want to be ready for it. And it can't be focused on being the leader of today. It's got to be focused on being the leader of tomorrow. So here are 3 questions that I'm going to ask you that if you don't have any kind of answer to these questions, it's clearly saying to me that you may not be ready to be CEO. The first question is this: 10 years from now, what's going to be standard in our industry? I bet some of you, that's a question that you've never thought about. That 10 years from now, what's going to be standard in our industry that is not standard today? That's a question that a CEO is thinking about. 10 years from now, what's going to be a standard in our industry that is not a standard today? Could be AI, could be government regulation, could be a shift in how we recruit talent. I don't know what the shift will be, but I need you to be asking yourself that question. 10 years from now, what's going to be standard in our industry that is not standard today? Here's a second question I'm going to ask. What are we doing today to prepare for that 10-year future? Do you know what your organization is doing today to prepare for that 10-year future? I know some of you are thinking, 10 years, I don't expect to be here. Well, if 10 years you don't expect to be there, then you probably don't expect to be the CEO in 10 years or any C-suite leader, which is okay by me. If you want to transition to somewhere else, if you think your next level is somewhere else, that's cool. But the question still needs to be asked. What are we doing today to prepare for that 10-year future? And here's the third question. What am I doing today to be the person who leads the implementation of what will be standard in our future? What am I saying to you? It was an inartful question, but all I'm saying to you is, what are you going to do today to be prepared for that future? See, what I'm trying to get you to understand here is that the thing that nobody is talking about is that organizations are hurting right now, and they need next generation leaders to lead. And when I say next generation, I'm not necessarily talking about Gen Z or millennials or any kind of age demographic, but I'm talking about next generation thinkers, people who are not focused on so much on execution today and fixing today's problems, but people who are preparing for tomorrow, who are preparing for the future. And they spend a significant amount of their time preparing for the future. They're also the leader who's not just focused on building their team, but they're focused on building influence. So they can't build influence when they only operate in their silo. They have to build that influence by being a support to other leaders in the organization, in their silos. That's what those one-on-ones are about. In the organizations that need leaders to have a bigger impact are the ones who are asking questions about the next decade of the industry, the next decade of the organization, and the next decade of their work and their role. Now, I'm going to close with this because I've said this to you all before. I want you to understand something. That if you are in a position right now, let's just say you've been in your job. If you've been in your job for 10 years or more, here's what I'm going to tell you. You're not good at your job. And that's why you're not being promoted. If you're in your current position, the same position today as you were in 2016, you are not good at your job. Here's why. Because if you were actually good at your job, you would have become so bored at it that you would have sought out a bigger opportunity. You would literally be hungry for something greater if you were good at your job. Or if you were really good at the job, somebody would have seen how you move, how talented you are, and how great a job you're doing. And they would have come and plucked you from that opportunity for a bigger opportunity. But if you're still in the same role, doing the same thing, the same way for the last decade, you are telling me that you're not really good at your job. You're coasting. And I'm telling you right now, your organization needs a leader who's ready to lead, not a leader who likes to coast. Times are growing more and more difficult, and you have to hit that next level. We need you to hit that next level. We need you to have an impact. And I am just sharing with you today the things that nobody is talking about. They're not talking about that the reason why you're not being promoted is because you are an executor and not a strategist. You've built a great team, but you haven't built influence. That you're a high performer, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're ready for the next level of executive leadership. But if you want some help, I'm here to help you. Just stay tuned, share a message with me if I can help you specifically. But my goal is to prepare leaders to be the greatest leader in their organization, for the people that they lead, the industry that they serve, and the opportunities that they will create for others. I want to thank you for watching. Everybody have a fantastic day.